Hey y'all, today we are going to be talking about barndo myths. Are they too expensive? Are they a barn that you just convert into a house? So today we're going to talk about it and we're going to dispel some myths and maybe even agree with some.
Because every single person has their own opinions and experiences from when they built their barndo, so it may be different from ours. So we'll say these may be myths, they may be facts. It's all subjective, but we're going to give you our reality of our experience.
The first myth that we are going to talk about is, are barndos hard to insulate?
I would say overall it was quite easy to insulate. We used a spray foam insulation. We used an open cell spray foam insulation inside the house. And when they sprayed the insulation, they really do what they call an envelope, which is where you spray all the exterior walls and the roof and seal everything nice and tight across the entire house. It's worked quite well. I've been very happy with it. I know you said you've been happy with it. The electric bill has been a lot better than what it would have been or what it was at our old house, just because it really keeps the temperature inside where you want it. I mean, if it's hot in the summer and you want it cold, or cold in the winter and you need it hotter, it does a really good job of help regulating the temperature and keeping it where you need it. I definitely do not like the bats aspect of it, or the bat insulation. It's the really long, fiberglass type insulation. Yeah, your traditional insulation. I don't really like that. After doing this house and the tiny house, spray foam is the only way I'd go moving forward. It is very tight. What I mean by tight, there's not a lot of airflow from the outside to the inside. And you do want outside air to come into your house from time to time, just to help with the flow. So you can crack a window. It helps bring air in. We turn our AC on at just a fan. And you can actually take that fan, turn it on, open up a window slightly, and it will circulate the air throughout the house and draw in air from outside. So we can basically counteract the potential for any, because it's so tight, sometimes you have issues with the possibility of building up moisture and so on and so forth. So you need a good airflow. We also have a dehumidifier, and the dehumidifier works really, really well.
You can get gallons of water.
Yep.
A week out of that in the winter.
It does. Yeah, so the dehumidifier works really, really well, helping to keep that moisture and humidity down and help regulate the temperature and makes it really comfortable inside the house.
Next we have, are Barndominiums cheaper than stick-built homes? What do you think? Or what do you know? Because we know.
I would say when it comes down to price, it's really relative to the person, right? It really comes down to your finishes. What are you going to do outside your house? What are you going to do inside your house? That really drive a lot of the cost. How many lights do you want in your house? How many faucets do you want on the outside? How big do you want your island? Are you going to use custom cabinets? Are you going to go with drywall? Are you going to go with
Tongue
and groove?
Yep.
Just plenty of different options that really drive the price relative to the individual that's actually building the house.
We've had multiple people ask on our channel and in real life, how much did your barndo cost? Because I want to build a barndo. Well, what we paid for our barndo, even if our neighbor decided to build the same exact barndo, is not going to cost what we built. So we don't like telling people the exact price of what we built because we don't want to lead them in the wrong direction, because what we have inside of our barndo, our finishes may not be what they have, what they want for their home. So we just try to give maybe a guesstimate of the price per square foot, around maybe $150 to $300 a square foot. And I know that is just yes, it is from one end to the other end of the spectrum, but that is what it is. So you could just make it very, cozy and quaint and not as big, or, you don't have tile everywhere, or maybe you want tile in every bathroom and you want a backsplash in your pantry. So that is what I say when people ask me, how much does your barndo cost? Because you're not gonna pay what I paid, regardless of where you are in the country, or, this was, 3 years ago? This was 3 years ago, so everything has probably went down in price compared to what.
Before we even started building. I mean, when we got the quote just to build the pole barn, that's just the metal and the poles and all that stuff, just to get the structure, the shell, if you will, up. From the time that we got the quote to the time that they came out here to actually build it, it was like $40,000 more expensive.
Just in metal.
Because we had built at the height of the pandemic, and prices just happened to soar and soar and soar, and we had zero option but to just, we had to eat it and do it.
Yep.
We were living in the RV, and
It's not
we
ideal.
are where we are.
Yeah, not ideal.
I will say, though, if you compare barndos to regular stick-built houses, in the grand scheme of what it is, it would be cheaper. I feel like it would be cheaper. I think the biggest difference between a barndo and a stick-built house is a stick-built house, you actually have to wrap your entire house in OSB plywood. So the whole house, the roof, everything is wrapped in plywood, and then they wrap it with Tyvek, which is a waterproof sheeting, if you will. Where with a barndo, you build the entire, we'll call it the stick framing. They wrap the entire thing with Tyvek, and then the metal goes on. So no OSB, straight metal. Stick built, all OSB, and then you have to put on your siding and your roofing, your shingles, so on and so forth. So whenever you're building a stick built house versus a barndo, just automatically eliminate the OSB. And I would really say that's probably the biggest cost savings of a stick built house versus a barndo.
If you're not building during a pandemic, then it would have been a lot less.
Yes. But even then, when we built the stick built house, the price of OSB went through the roof. It went from, I want to say it was like $25 a sheet or $30 a sheet to like $75 or even $100 a sheet. It was stupid expensive. So even then, I guess maybe apples to apples, if we would have had to wrap this entire thing in OSB, like you would a stick-built house, it would have been significantly more. So I think that's their biggest cost savings when building a barndo versus a stick-built house. Another myth is they say it's hard to find homeowners insurance for a Barndominium. So in this case, Kristen did all of the research for insurance for our house and got everything figured out and pays the bill. So I'm going to default to her and let you answer that question.
I guess it depends on your state, but with us, it was super simple. It was super easy. I called my insurance lady. I told her what was going on, and she said, "Okay, this is the price," and that was it. So for us, it was really, really easy to get insurance on our house, and it just happened to be cheaper for the barndo than our last stick-built house that we had. So I think it depends on your insurance company and who you talk to and how you go about in describing your barndo. So with us, it was just a metal siding house, and that's how it is on our insurance papers, and super easy.
Yeah, that's how it was when I put in all the permits for the county. I just put standard house, metal roof, metal siding. I mean, I don't even know that I really classified it as a Barndominium.
Yeah, it was never classified as that.
So I guess, yeah, to your point, it really depends on, I guess, where you're at, what your the area, the rules, the whatever laws, the insurance, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So it was easy for us to get insurance, and it may be easier since then for a lot of people to get insurance because, at this point, barndos have been around for, a couple years, so insurance companies and people know how to, I guess, word it, Yeah,
I would say we were one of the first few Barndominiums in our area, and I guess could have been a plus for us when we built, but I had heard people that were in our area say that it was very difficult for them to get permits to build a Barndominium in our area. I had zero issues. Maybe once again that just comes down to how you classify it when you're submitting your permits. I said, house with metal roof, metal siding, and no questions were really even asked. We also, once again, when we built, it was the height of the pandemic, so we didn't really, there wasn't a lot of people in the office. for
That's
the
true.
permit office. So maybe it was one of those things where it was just like, oh,
They
okay,
just
and
signed off on
signed
it.
off on it,
Yep.
check it, and move on. So that could have been to our benefit at that time. The person that I talked to that was trying to do that I think were trying to do theirs maybe 6 months or so before we did, when people were more so in the office. So I guess there's a lot of different things that can change.
Make or break your build.
Very well said. Yeah. So another myth that I guess people have either asked us or things that we have maybe seen or heard is that people say that Barndominiums don't really have a good resale value. And I think that also depends on your area and what people really are looking for in your area. For us, I would say I feel like they have a good resale value. And we're not really in a rural area. We are more in a little bit more of a populated kind of area. Now, the house itself sits in the middle of 20-something acres, but we still have a lot around us. It just really depends on what people are looking for. And we see more and more barndominiums being built in our county and in some of the surrounding counties. And a lot of the prices that we see them selling for are more than what they cost to build. So I would say resale value, at least in our area, is pretty nice. And I know
But something, your house is worth, or whatever is worth, what someone is willing to pay for it.
Mhm.
So it's not like, I guess, an appraisal or, I don't know, it matters, but it's, at the end of the day, it's your house is worth what someone is willing to pay for the house. With anything. So.
Yeah, when you have a house and you're going to sell it, whether it's a barndominium or something else, I mean, what you think the value is, and to Kristen's point, what somebody's willing to pay for it could always be two different things. We've got like blood, sweat, and tears literally in building this house. So there's a sentimental value for us in building
that
this
emotional
house.
value is not included in that appraisal.
Absolutely
or
not.
Or in the sale price.
You have to look at what did you pay for it and what does it appraise or value at in the market, whether it's today, yesterday, or a couple years down the road. It's hard to tell. But I will say what we paid for it versus what the appraised value is, I mean, it was a lot better. The appraised value was a lot better, so I'm loving that.
Something else we get a lot is, can your barndo withstand high winds? And is it durable? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I guess you say durable, maybe in extreme weather. I think it's really relative to the weather. I mean, Helene just came through, not here, but in other areas. And if Helene would have hit, I would say that, there's a good chance that the metal could have been easily pulled off, just like somebody, with siding or so on and so forth. It just depends on that type of weather. We'll just say for basic weather, I feel like it's quite durable.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. So we do have steel trusses and 6x6 pillars throughout the house, the pole barn aspect of it. The only steel really that is made or built, whatever this house is built with, are the trusses and the metal that surround the exterior and the roof. But if a tree, decided to fall, let's say in between the two trusses onto the metal, then it's going to rip the metal and it's going to rip the 2x6s, or the 2x10s. So it's going to. I mean, it just depends on what hits it. But overall, I will say I do feel very safe inside the house, high winds or not. I mean, at some point you really can't control what Mother Nature and the good Lord's going to do when a tree happens to come crashing down, possibly. But regular wind, rain, stuff like that, I mean, I have no worries. I'm super happy with. I feel super safe inside.
Yeah, me too. A lot of things, I don't know. I just feel like a barndo is like easier than a house to maintain. Don't you think so?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess durable is really sort of which direction are we going with that?
I'm talking about like maintenance. I'm talking about like the maintaining of the house. Like it is very, it's easy.
Oh man, it's so easy
compared to like our
absolutely
traditional that we had.
Well, with a barndominium, you got your metal siding. Your metal siding has a 40-year guarantee on the paint. I mean, that means I don't have to paint it for 40 years. And that's actually, I mean, that's a guarantee. So, I mean, maybe that lasts even longer, 50 years. I mean, so, yeah, from the main, and all I got to do is clean it, pressure wash it.
And also the fade, like it doesn't fade either.
Yep, it
so
doesn't
that's
fade.
good.
Yep.
And siding does fade.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, it's easy to get a foam cannon. It's like washing a car. You get a foam cannon, you spray it off, you pressure wash it, you scrub it down, and you're done. I don't have to paint it. I don't have to worry about painting. I don't have to do anything like that. So just from an exterior standpoint, it's great. I mean, there's not a lot of maintenance. So that aspect that I'm pretty happy about.
The next myth is barndominiums are only for farms. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
I mean, that sort of goes right along with, barndominiums are only for rural areas.
Yeah.
You can put a barndominium anywhere, as long as it, I guess, really works for you. I mean, if it's your property and you're not in some subdivision with HOAs that want to tell you what you can and can't do, which thank God we're not anymore. That's why we're here.
That's another story.
But yeah, I mean, put it wherever you want. If you got a property and that's what you want, I mean, you're in the United States of America. Make a decision and do what you want to do because you can, for the most part.
But you do need to ask your local government if you can do it.
Sadly, that's true. That is so true. Well,
you got to get those permits in. You got to pay
yeah,
those fees. So, yep.
If your government allows you to do it, then put it wherever you want. But no, I mean, it's not only for farms. I mean, we didn't really necessarily have a farm when we built it. We just said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And we built it, and then the farm sort of developed around it. Kristen's vision steadily continues to grow, and just, our cup overfloweth with ideas. So, yeah, put it where you want it. I mean, like I said, rural areas, or put it right smack in the middle of the city if they let you do it. And that just goes right along with the next myth, is that barndominiums can't be luxurious. Like, absolutely could be luxurious. I mean, I feel like ours is pretty luxurious. What about you?
I feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you make it. It's your fixtures. It's your options, your extras. What do you do? I mean, we could have easily built this entire thing, all black metal siding from the roof to the ground. But instead, we decided to go with a stone water table. And it, completely changed the whole look, right? It was a great idea. I thought doing the stone accent wall was fantastic. It went from, I guess you could say, maybe looking like a warehouse to more like a home. Something a little more traditional. So, I mean, the luxurious side of it is, once again, it comes down to
whatever you want to do.
Make it what you want, because barndominiums have a gazillion options. It's really what's in Kristen's head as to what we are going to do. What's in your head as to what you want to do to make your house the way you want to make it. So I say, go hog wild, as long as you can pay for it.
The next myth is you can't build a barndominium on a small budget. Myth or fact?
I guess you could say that it is a myth, because you can build a barndominium on a small budget. The fact is it really comes down to what's in your head, right? What do you feel like you can, what do you want to do?
What can you afford?
Yeah.
So.
The tiny house, let's just say that's a barndo, right? It's a tiny house barndo. It's just a small version of our bigger house. We didn't put any stone around it. We could have, and it would have cost more, but we didn't do that. Just the shell of the tiny house is a 20 by 30. That shell cost us about $12,500-ish. Now you take that shell and then you put it on top of concrete. You get you a concrete slab that's 20 by 30 and put it on top of that, and whatever that cost is. I think at the time when we originally were talking about doing it, I want to say the concrete was going to cost us, I want to say it was like
35.
I was going to say $4, but yeah, we'll just say $35,000 to $4,000 for the 20 by 30 concrete slab. So if that's the case, you've got the shell and the concrete slab, and you're in it for, let's say, 18, right? Or no, I can't add. You're right, 16. So you're in it for 16, and then you start doing all the other stuff. It just depends on your budget and what all do you want to do, what kind of air conditioning system you want to put in it. Do you want to go like with what we did, and we decided to do mini splits, and then all the extras. So once again, I absolutely think you can build a barndominium on a budget. It's just what are your finishes and how big do you want it to be? Because a barndominium is just that. It's literally a shell that you make into what you want it to be. That's what I love about a barndominium. The versatility. What do you think?
Up next, we have, are Barndominiums a fad or a trend?
I think it may have been a trend at some point, but I think it is now catching on more and more. So the trend side of it, I think, is a little bit more gone. I think people are really starting to realize the versatility of the barndominiums. And like we said before, I mean, it is a little cheaper to build the barndominium than a regular traditional home because you don't have to worry about the OSB. So I would say it's not really a trend anymore. It may have been at one point, but it has absolutely caught on, and that's why you see insurance companies. It's not maybe as hard to get insurance or permits in areas that maybe it was before. Barndominiums, honestly, I would say have been around for quite a while. People have lived in barns for a long time. It's just now, it's
kinda like
caught on
dressing them
more.
up.
Yeah, they're dressed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of like luxurious and more like adding, more of your personality to it, like your tile and it's not just concrete floors, it's hardwood floors, and it's not like a barn, it's like a high-end home,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that goes back to the luxurious side of what
Yes.
we're talking about. You make it what you want, but yeah, there's so much versatility.
So if I had to do it over again, I would definitely build a barndo. So if I was going to build another house tomorrow, it would be a barndo for sure. And probably my favorite part about it is the fact that you can put things where you want it. You can move things. You don't have to move like structure, like a beam.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have to move. If you move this beam, you have to move that beam. Trickle down the line. So I think that is probably one of my favorite parts about it.
And I guess a couple things that we probably didn't really touch on that I wouldn't really call myths, but when we talk about the pricing of a barndominium, most likely from your contractor, that price does not include the clearing and the grading and the septic and the utilities. That was something that we had to realize very quickly when we got our quote back. The builder was like, "Hey, listen, this is just so you know, this is me building your house. You got to do everything else. If you want to do, if you want me to do that, it's going to be, more money. Now, obviously, it's going to be more money regardless. But did I want to pay him to do it, or did I want to be the contractor and figure it out and get it all done myself?
In the driveway too.
In the driveway, yeah. I mean, so our house is 300 and we'll just say roughly 350 feet back off the road. We have to put in that driveway, and that driveway is slightly over, we'll say maybe 18 feet wide, might be even 20 in some areas. Just the driveway by itself had 22 dump truck loads of gravel put on it. This was all raw land when we built it, so everything had to be completely cleared out, completely graded, moved out, so on and so forth.
And during rainy season. So in order for them to get back here and to clear, the gravel had to be brought in before, which was not anticipated at that point in time to spend that kind of money.
Yeah,
whenever they were coming, whenever the rain.
I would have never, if somebody would have said, "Hey, you're going to spend what?" It was like $16,000 on a driveway.
Yeah, that was the first go.
If you're going to spend $16,000 on a driveway and it's not going to be concrete or asphalt, I would have been
permanent.
Like,
it's not going to be a permanent driveway.
Yeah.
That's
gravel.
That hurt
gravel
my
driveway. Yeah, that was a big pill to swallow that we didn't anticipate to start with. That was just like, yeah, that was difficult. But I mean, we are where we are now, right? It's all hindsight.
That was like 3 years ago, so we're good now. My feelings are better.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do
next time.
But I mean, I had to, I mean, I found a company that came in. I had one company that came in and gave me a quote to clear the land that was through the roof. Um, I want to say his quote to come in and just clear the land, just to tear down the trees and get it all like leveled the way we want to.
That's a driveway, and that is
Yep.
like an acre or two?
Yeah, it was basically like an acre.
Yeah, with the driveway.
Yeah, and that was $65,000. And oh man, I had to take a step back. I had to swallow my pride and say, okay, is this something we're going to be able to do? But you go out and you get more quotes. You listen to people. You ask questions. You get referrals. And I had a guy that was able to come in and do it it was $25,000.
So don't go on your first quote, too, because if you get a quote that high, that means that they probably are not interested in doing the job, and they're just trying to, like, scare you away, and that is what they did with us. They scared us away, and we went somewhere else, and we got what we thought was a good deal for them to do the same job. Yeah. So that happened to us a couple times with somebody over-quoting us, and then we found someone else just because they didn't want to do it. And I know that at that point with the pandemic that they were just like overrun because a lot of people were building at that time because the housing prices were so high. They were wanting to build, and they don't have the time for little 1 acre jobs unless it's going to pad their pockets.
Yeah. Get multiple quotes. And even with the builder, he had certain people that he went through to do certain jobs. Like he had his garage door guy, he had his plumber, he had his electrician, he had his drywall guy. And I was like, that's all good and well. And you're the contractor, but I'm going to get some quotes because I want to get a better idea of how much this is really going to cost. It's sort of like, I don't want to say keeping them honest, fact checking. I don't know what the best way to say it is, but like his guy for the electrician was better than what I found. His guy for the plumbing was better than what I found. My garage door guy was about half the price of his garage door guy. Matter of fact, he uses my garage door guy now to build his other houses.
The same with our cabinets.
Same with the cabinets. He had a cabinet guy. His cabinet guy was going to be more expensive than the guy I had. And my guy did ours. They're custom cabinets. He now uses our cabinet guy to do his houses. So, it worked out great for him because he was able to find other people that did a better job and gave a better price. And we were able to save money because we didn't just go, okay, that's what you said it's going to be.
Right,
that's what we're going to do. So it worked out in the long run for the most part with the different contractors that he had and that we were able to figure out. So, but going back to what we originally said, do not include the utilities and the grading and the driveway and all that stuff in the price of the building of your house. All that is basically, we'll call that groundwork. That's the foundation of what you're then going to be doing on top of that. I had to pay for the septic to get put in, and then I got with all the utility companies, the water company and the power company and everything to get all that stuff put in. The builder didn't do any of that stuff. Matter of fact, he said, I can go pull the permits, he says, but you're the homeowner. You're the taxpayer. He said, so you probably be better off dealing with the county because they're going to have a little bit more respect for you as the taxpayer than me as a builder, and they might hold him maybe to some kind of a different standard. I'm not sure. So anyway.
And if you have any questions that we did not answer, please put them in the comments below, and we will make sure that we answer every question that we get.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much.